It's 9 o'clock on Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. The clerk call the roll, please.
Alt, Bard, Barons,
Here.
Botcher, Bowman,
Here.
Bowers, Kokenauer, Crow, Curtis, Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Johnson, Lynch, McGinnis,
Here.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful, Sure,
Yep.
Young,
Yes.
and Zumwalt.
Present.
Okay, Mrs. Awful.
Yes, good morning. Today we have Pastor Roy Johnson from the First Christian Church in Watsika that's going to start us in prayer.
Different position today. I guess I'm going to turn. I just want to start with a scripture today in Proverbs 33:15. It says, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people who is his inheritance." I'm going to change that a little bit and say, "Blessed is the county whose God is the Lord." And I believe Iroquois County, strong faith in Jesus Christ as the Lord. So we do come, Father, recognizing you that you are all powerful, that you rule and reign. And we thank you for your blessings upon our county. And Lord, we do pray today for the county board members as they probably have important decisions to make. Help their decisions to reflect your will. We pray for law enforcement in our county, for safety for them in these dangerous times we live. We pray for the farmers, that you bless them with a good crop this year. The businessmen, bless our businessmen in the county, our churches. Lord, may our churches be full, people seeking you and praising you. Lord, bless the weather that we have. So many storms and things around about us. Lord, we pray your protection. I know we need a little rain for those crops right now. Lord, we ask for that. Lord, we pray that you keep the bad elements out of our county. These drugs that are trying to push in, Lord, in the name of Jesus, we pray you keep those, especially that fentanyl, out of our county. And we pray for the schools in our county, Lord, that your blessing would be upon them and all the educators. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name today. Amen.
Amen. Very good. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone has a copy of the agenda in front of them. Do we have a motion to approve that? Mr. Bowers, seconded by Mr. Bard. Are there any questions or comments regarding the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. Everyone was sent a copy of the minutes from the June 14th, 2022 session. We have a motion to approve those minutes. Mr. Ducat, seconded by Mr. Zumwalt. Are there any questions or comments regarding those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Payroll. Mr. Young. Is there a second? Mr. Alt, are there any questions or comments regarding payroll? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Bard,
Yes.
Barons,
Yes.
Botcher, Bowman,
No.
Bowers,
Yes.
Kokenauer, Crow, Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, at our meeting last month, we recognized a vacancy in the County Board District 2. I'm pleased today to know that we have an individual that I believe is ready to assume that position, Mr. Gerald Jed Whitlow. And in that regard, For a credentials committee to begin the process, I appoint Lyle Behrens as the chairman, and Charlie Alt, John Zumwalt, and Donna Crowe. If you'll retire to the new break room back there and consider the matter, we'll await your decisions. Just an assignment, I guess, yeah. You can have the good ones. Yeah. Give it to you.
Six babies. So they were. Yeah. And there were about 12.
The laughter way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go somewhere else. You know, it's affecting my babies. The laughter way.
Minus
Chapstick.
I've got a sincere milkweed. Yeah. I really enjoy working with them because it's. Yeah. Where you get butterflies hatching and going into chrysalis, and you're just having it out of place.
You're right. Crab things.
Yeah.
I see them. Fun, but
agenda said that came to mind there a little later.
Okay.
Just on YouTube.
Hey, you wanna turn them on? I just can't get to them.
Oh, I got it. You want me to read it there?
We turned some.
Hey, Steve, can you pull that, or Paul, can you pull that
Turn the
cord?
white switch on.
No, don't.
Are they all on?
Is it the clapping? We clap.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Status.
Ready?
No.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred, searching credentials of beg leave to submit the following report on marriage for them. Following members of District 2 Search Committee, Lyle Behrens, Charlie Alt, Don Crow, and John Dumo met on July 12, 2022 at 9:05 a.m. at the Administrative Center in Watsika. The committee inspected the credentials of Gerald E. Jed Whitlow of 316 East Park Court, Gilman, Illinois. It was moved by Donna Crow, seconded by Charlie Alt, to recommend the appointment of Gerald E. Jed Whitlow of 316 East Park Court, Watsika, Illinois, to fill the vacancy in the County Board District 2. It is moved by John Dumo and seconded by Donna Crow to adjourn at 9:10 a.m., all of which is respectfully submitted by Rupert Stockton.
His address is in Gilman, not Watsika.
That was a clerk error, sorry.
Down then.
Sorry, Jed.
I'm just reading what's in front.
Yeah, we'll get that fixed. I apologize.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the nomination of Mr. Whitlow to the board. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? Please.
Behrens,
Yes.
Botcher,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Kokenauer,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Ducat, Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zumwalt,
Yes.
Alt, Bard.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, Mr. Whitlow, would you come forward to take the oath of office, please?
That's what this big open area is for, Mike. For Jed to take us, oh. Okay, if you want to raise your right hand. And I'm going to try and do this broken up into
Very good.
small pieces, okay? Okay, I, Gerald E. Jed Whitlow,
I, Gerald E. Jed Whitlow,
having been appointed to the office
having been appointed to the office
of County Board Member District 2
of County Board Member District 2
in the County of Iroquois,
in the County of Iroquois,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of County Board Member District 2
of the office of County Board Member District 2
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
you.
Congratulations. Okay, moving on, do we have any public comments this morning?
Good morning. My name's Silas West. I'm a new face to most of you, I'm sure. A lot of you are new faces to me. I did not plan to speak at one of these meetings until I had come to several, but I have strong feelings about some of the meetings that I have gone to, and I would be very upset with myself if I did not make a statement, so I'm going to. First of all, can I get a show of hands of people that were at the Board of Health meeting this past week? I was. for the duration of the meeting. I thought it was pertinent for, as a community member, to go to that meeting. Our Board of Health, there is a couple members that regularly do not show up to the meetings. It's my understanding that one of those members has a medical condition that would prevent him from participating. I think that that is not right. I think that 2 new people need to be appointed. The Board of Health unanimously voted to pay out an undetermined amount of overtime to the administrator. There was no amount of hours, no dollar amount, no proof of anything, and I have a problem with that. I guess I have some concerns with what's going on with the Board of Health and the fact that the county board has not put it on their agenda in the past 2 months. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments this morning? Seeing none, we'll move along to outside organization reports.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the Iroquois County Board, and guests. I'm Angel Crawford, the Executive Director with the Iroquois County Economic Development Association. At the last County Board meeting in June, I mentioned upcoming meetings that IDA is planning, and the first meeting will be the Community Economic Development Boot Camp being held next week. This meeting will be co-hosted by Mike Wilson with the Eastern Illini Electric, and will bring together IDA directors, IDA committee members, county chamber members, town mayors, and their board members. The purpose of the boot camp is to provide both the private and public leadership of the Iroquois Economic Development Association with the overview of the basic building blocks of successful community economic development and how to apply these and create successful countywide business retention, expansion, and recruitment strategy and program. The key element of this event will be a SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that Iroquois County faces in creating a business environment that assists the growth of existing businesses in the county, and it supports new business formation and the attraction of companies from other locations. We will gather information from the boot camp meeting and present a report to our IDA directors at the IDA quarterly meeting in August for more review and discussion. Finally, we will host our 2022 Economic Summit in September. At the summit, we will bring together county board members, IDA directors, IDA committee members, town mayors, and their board members, and representatives from the larger businesses in Iroquois County. In this meeting, we will review the boot camp report and gather additional input from everyone attending. Now, please remember, these meetings and workshops encompass all the communities in Iroquois County and are a prelude to developing a countywide economic efficiency plan. In advance, we'd like to emphasize the importance of these meetings and workshops. We want to encourage everyone invited to please attend, and your participation is greatly needed and appreciated. Recently, the Illinois Family Relief Plan went into effect to help families throughout the state. Here's a quick overview. Beginning July 1st, the state sales tax on grocery items, 1%, will be suspended through 6/30 of next year, 2023. The scheduled increase to the gas tax will be delayed until January 1st, 2023. Between August 5th through the 14th this year, certain school items and qualified clothing will have 5% reduced state tax rate from 6.25 down to 1.25%. And I believe this happened last year too. So this is something that we really need to communicate to, families that are getting ready to go out and buy goods for school year. The earned income credit will permanently expand the state's earned income credit from 18% to 20% of the federal credit, while expanding the number of households covered. This helps low to moderate income workers and families get a tax break. If you qualify, you can use the credit to reduce your taxes you owe and maybe increase your refund. And on September 12th this year, the state will begin to issue property tax rebates, $300 maximum, to qualified taxpayers who file their 2021 Illinois returns with Schedule ICR. The Department of Revenue has more information on rebates online and says to receive rebates, 2021 tax returns and ICR must be filed by October 17th, 2022. So that's a big date to remember. Taxpayers may visit IDOR's website, so the Illinois Department of Revenue's website at tax.illinois.gov. You can also get assistance by calling 800-732-8866 or 217-782-3336. And in closing, get ready for some fun in Iroquois County. On next week, actually, July 19th through the 24th, it's the Iroquois County Agricultural and 4-H Fair in Crescent City. The fair features the best family entertainment, including 4-H competitions, a rodeo, a dinner derby, tractor pulls, a huge Christian concert, and more. To get your tickets, you need to go to the fair's website, or you can go to www.enjoyillinois.com for more information. Next month, there is something coming up, and everybody's heard about it probably. The Old Settlers Family Reunion in System Park. That'll be August 17th through the 20th. There's going to be live entertainment, great food, and you can try your luck at winning a 2022 Chevy Equinox for $20,000. Be sure to check the Old Settlers Family Reunion Facebook page. I checked yesterday and I could not find it, but I'm sure that they're going to be popping that up pretty soon. And look for more information coming on your local radio station or in your local newspaper. And finally, at the end of August is the Watseka Family Festival featuring the superstar country artist Tracy Byrd and the 80s rock tribute band Hairball, which features tributes like Van Halen, Kiss, Motley Crue, Queen, Journey, and Aerosmith. The festival has food, rides, and fun for the whole family. So get your tickets today on their Facebook page, or again, go to www.enjoyillinois.com for more information. For additional questions on any of these topics, you're welcome to call our office for the Iroquois Economic Development Association, 815-432-0072. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Angel.
My apologies, I'm on medical leave, so this is what I look like when I'm in. I came in, flew under the radar, and Charlie asked me to give my report. So, as we speak, fiscal year 2022, I'm Jennifer Ingram, by the way, I'm Veterans Assistance for most of you that don't know that. Fiscal year 2022 has seen, we're growing by leaps and bounds, are absolutely wonderful things have been happening for our veterans. Fiscal year 2022 has seen 83 new claims, 104 claims that have been carried over for a total of 187 claims for compensation and or pension. That is up from 182 active claims from 2021. We have exceeded last year's numbers and we're only halfway through the year. 83 are brand new claims for 2022, as I said, 104 have carried over. 41 claims are in some form of the appeals process, either the higher level review, supplemental claim, or at the Board of Veterans Appeals. 56 claims have been favorably awarded and 12 were denied. In fiscal year 2022, and these numbers have changed for the better, there have been positive awards totaling $770,239.90 $436,625.68 in annual awards and $333,762.22 in retroactive pay. We are on the mark to surpass last year's totals. This is up from $101,347.12 in annual awards and $226,992, 20% in retroactive pay. I encourage anybody that knows a veteran to come in and see me. You just don't know what's out there. And I think there are folks in this room that can vouch for me in that aspect. I took my laptop home. I've been working from home. There's been another claim that I checked yesterday. He's getting $10,000 in back pay as we speak. I haven't even had the opportunity to call him yet. He went from 20% service connected to 100. I'm very, very, very vocal about folks that know Vietnam War veterans. If they're suffering, have them call me. Gulf War veterans, we're getting some of our younger guys in now, and ladies. And their awards are being very favorably awarded. I won't turn anybody away. I will uncover each stone if I can humanly possibly do it myself. Again, we're doing wonderfully. I'm doing all of this by myself. If I don't answer the phone, leave a voicemail, I'll call you back. It might take me a day or two, but I will definitely do it. If there aren't any questions, that's all I have. So again, encourage any veteran to come in. I won't turn them away. There's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to get the benefits that are deserved by our veterans and earned by our veterans. That's all I have. And oh, by the way, my daughter's in week 3 of Air Force boot camp.
Hey, Cheyenne Denoyer couldn't be with us today, but a copy of her report has been placed in front of all of you, so please take a look at that with your latest opportunity. Are there any other outside organization reports this morning? Seeing none, we'll move on to the committee reports. First of which is policy and procedure. I will read that from up here. Members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred policy and procedure would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. The committee met at the Administrative Center on June 30, 2022 at 9:03 a.m. Members present were Scher, Behrens, Alt, and Bard. Michael McTaggart and Barbara Awful were absent. Also present, Finance Manager Jill Johnson, County Clerk Brian Suber, EMA Director Eric Sacy, ETS Director Eric Raymond, and Regional Superintendent of Schools Dr. Greg Murphy. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Roger Bard and seconded by Charlie Alt to approve the agenda. The motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. The committee chairs gave their monthly reports. Management Chairman Lyle Behrens reported the management committee will open bids and take action on the county farm tiling project and open bids for the county morgue. The judicial committee will hear their standard reports. Tax Planning and Zoning Chairman Roger Bard reported the department heads will give their reports. Highway Chairman Charlie Alt reported the Highway Committee will review their standard reports. County Board Chairman John Scher was contacted by Bob Harwood, former mayor of Watseka. Mr. Harwood is also associated with the Iroquois County Historical Society. They are interested in redoing some of their bylaws, some of which pertain to the county. Scher said he will include it on next month's agenda for further discussion. EMA Director Eric Sacy reported he has not heard back from Illinois Emergency Management Agency or Federal Emergency Management Agency on the grant to have a hazard mitigation plan rewritten. Sacy said he will follow up with both agencies today. Repairs have been made to the EMA vehicle. These repairs include replacing the tire pressure sensor and a new intake gasket. Stacy explained the current repairs are falling within the fiscal year 22 budget. The air conditioning in the vehicle has been out for a couple of years, but is now in the budget to be repaired until next year. Stacy informed the committee that the Region 7 Illinois Emergency Management Agency Regional Coordinator Iris Ducey is retiring today. Ms. Ducey has provided much assistance over the years to Stacy's office. Lastly, EMA will have a booth at the Iroquois County Fair next month. This is EMA's largest publicity event of the year. The booth is shared with the Iroquois County Amateur Radio Club. Coloring books and brochures are handed out, as well as pamphlets about the HyperReach system. Discussion was held on security at the Administrative Center. County Clerk Brian Suber commented on an incident that occurred recently in the Veterans Assistance Office, which resulted in a gentleman being escorted out of the Administrative Center by police. Suber said she was unaware of a situation in the building, and having some type of knowledge of the situation would have been appreciated. ETS Director Eric Raymond reiterated Suber's statement about the disgruntled person in the Veterans Assistance Office. Police were called to handle the matter. Raymond said even if we had a notification system, the police were already on scene, and there wasn't necessarily a need to send out a notification. However, there is some opportunity to educate staff on the use of the panic alarms. American Rescue Plan Act funds have been applied for to install additional security measures within the building. Sure stated the additional work and costs need to be specifically identified and brought to the management committee. Finance Manager Jill Johnson gave an update on the sexual harassment training. This year, there is a video for all employees to watch and a certificate to be signed and returned. Johnson said she held 4 sessions on June 30. Employees may also watch the video on their own time. Current completion rate is at 25%. Johnson is planning to hold another session on July 12 after the county board meeting to allow board members to complete their training. That's today. Regional Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Greg Murphy, was in attendance and also submitted his notification of retirement effective July 31, 2022. Sure told the committee that Dr. Murphy's successor, Frank Bakunis, has been introduced to the county board. The committee was provided with a proposed resolution to appoint Mr. Bakunis as Regional Superintendent of Schools for Iroquois and Kankakee County. It was moved by Bard and seconded by all to declare the office of Regional Superintendent of Schools vacant, effective July 31, 2022. A roll call vote was taken. That motion carried. It was moved by Alt and seconded by Bard to approve Frank Bakunis as Regional Superintendent of Schools for Iroquois and Kankakee Counties, effective August 1, 2022, to fill the unexpired term of office of Dr. Greg Murphy. A roll call was taken and that motion carried. Sure discussed the new mileage rates adopted by the Internal Revenue Service, effective July 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022. The increase is from 58.5 cents per mile to 62.5 cents per mile. It was moved by Bard and seconded by all to approve the mileage increase from 58.5 cents per mile to 62.5 cents per mile, effective July 1, 2022 through December 31, 2022. A roll call vote was taken and that motion carried. Sure discussed increasing the membership on the 377 board. Page 3 of the state statute gives the county board authority to add 2 additional members to their board. Sure stated the 377 board currently consists of 3 members, and it is our best interest to authorize 5 total members. It was moved by Behrens and seconded by Bard to increase the 377 board to a 5-person board in accordance with the statute. A roll call vote was taken and that motion carried. Alt asked for a scope of what the 377 board does. Sure explained the 377 board meets once a year. They authorize the distribution of property taxes. They have a limit on their levy, which is usually in the neighborhood of $600,000 each year. Additionally, there are 2 organizations in the county that provide services to the developmentally disabled, ABRA of Sheldon and the ARC of Iroquois County. These organizations make presentations to the 377 board with their financial information, clients served, and other information about their operations. They also make a request for the monies they would like for the upcoming year. The funds are split 94% to 6% between the 2 organizations. Sure suggested the committee begin reviewing and revising the county code book. The last revisions were made 8 years ago by State's Attorney Jim Devine. Sure said he feels the committee should review the county code book first and send revisions to Devine. Schuver reminded Sure and the committee that any major changes will need to be done by county ordinance. Schuver also suggested the county use the municipal code to have our ordinances online. This is a useful tool to be able to search for our ordinances. Barron's agrees that enough time has passed since the last revision and the committee should begin reviewing the county code book. The ordinance should also be available online. Sure said no action is needed for today. Appointments include appointing Frank Pacunas as Regional Superintendent of Schools. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Bard and seconded by Alt to pay the claims, subject to county board approval. A roll call vote was taken, that motion carried. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Alt and seconded by Bard to adjourn at 9:47 a.m. That motion carried by a voice vote. All of this is respectfully submitted, signed by all members present, and I move for the adoption of the report. Is there a second? Mr. Ducat, are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Botcher. Bowman.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Okenauer. Crow.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes. McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
And Barron's.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, you have in front of you a copy of the resolution for the appointment of Frank Pacunas as the Regional Superintendent of Schools for Iroquois and Kankakee counties. We need a separate motion to approve that, which I would entertain at this time. Mr. Hughes, is there a second? Mr. McGinnis, second. Are there any questions or comments about the resolution and the appointment of Frank Pacunas? Mr. Ducat?
Is he here?
Not this month. I think he's in Kankakee today.
I apologize, but can you tell me something about him? I don't know nothing about this gentleman. I apologize.
He was here 2 months
He's
ago?
been here at 2 of our county board meetings and spoke to us.
I know he did. Was there anything else we can talk about? I mean, is there?
How many, go ahead, Chad.
He's currently Dr. Murphy's assistant. He's on the primary ballot, so he's on the general election. He's been Greg's right-hand man
For 10 years, I
for
think.
10 years, for a long time. Me and Steve have worked with him. Because he was at our previous board meeting, Kankakee County meets the same day. So that's why he's at their board meeting today. So it's not that he's not wanting to, it's just only being one spot. So,
Okay.
yep.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Seeing none, would you call the roll, please?
Bowman.
Yes.
Bowers. Okenauer. Crow. Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes. McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Barron's.
Yes.
And Botcher.
Yes.
carried.
Okay, next we'll have the minutes from the management committee.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board and committee, to those of the Third Nation Services to beg to leave submit the following report on the matters before the committee met in the center on July 6, 2022 at 1:11 p.m. Members present, Ducat, Bowers, Crowe, Zoom off. Barons, Bowman, and Johnson were absent. Also present, County Board Chairman Scher, Maintenance Supervisor Drake, Coroner Cheatham, ETSB Director Raymond, Larry Mahoney, and TNT Construction, and John Martin with Martin Development Construction Incorporated. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Zoom Walton, second by Paul Bauer to approve the agenda. Motion carried by voice vote. There were no further comments. Maintenance Supervisor Drake's report includes the following. On Monday, June 27th, J&L Cooling Towers provided a free inspection of the 28-year-old cooling towers in the administrative center. They will also provide an estimate for having the cooling towers refurbished. Drake said J&L Cooling Towers said the galvanization on the inside of the towers is really good for its age. The copper pipes are really in great condition with minimal buildup. There were no heat pump issues. There were no plumbing or electrical issues. Angel Pest Control was at the administrative center for spraying for ants. The parking lot at the courthouse jail is complete. Next year, Drake said he will budget for crack sealing. The backflow preventers are scheduled for inspections. Fire alarms will be recertified Thursday, July 7th. Sure asked Drake to look into the water that is accumulating on the west side of the courthouse at the entry door. During discussion of the county farm, Zumwalt asked the committee to consider putting lime out for bid for fall for next month. The county farm tile project was discussed. No bids for the project were received. The committee will compile a list of vendors and they will be contacted for rebidding. Executive Assistant Amanda Longfellow said the responses she received to the notice published in the newspaper and the website was that there was not enough information to submit a bid, and the vendors were requesting a bid packet. It was moved by Crowe and seconded by Zumwalt to republish the bidding for the following project and reject the local vendors. Motion carried by voice vote. Bids were open for Maricopa County Board as follows. TNT Construction of Watsika, project to be fully complete within 120 days. Voluntary alternate, deduct for bond for 10 grand. CA7 stone, $25 per ton. Topsoil, $45 per yard. Turf grass seeding, $358 per yard. Martin Development and Construction Incorporated, $325,000. Project to be fully completed within 100 calendar days. Voluntary alternate. All underground work for water and sanitary outside of 5 feet from the building to be time and material. Hour rate is $145 per hour. If utilities are not located before footing is to be dug, there must be some understanding of the risk of digging blind. Time and materials $145 per hour per person. CA7 stone $35 per ton. Topsoil $35 per ton. Turf grass seeding $2,700 flat rate. Discussion was held on the location of the morgue, stating that the location would remain on the south side of the jail as discussed last month. Donna Crowe mentioned a possible issue with the lightning rods. Coroner Cheatham said the tower has been lowered and there isn't a need for that large of a lightning area. It was moved by Zumwalt, seconded by Crowe to accept the bid from Martin Development. The amount of $325,000 for the Maricopa County morgue. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. Continued discussion was held on the animal control building and the morgue. Larry Mahoney with TNT Construction provided the committee with 3 site plans for the building. But Mr. Mahoney said he, County Board Chairman Scher, and Management Chair Lown Barons met and prefer the building to be located in the southwest corner of the administrative center. Ms. Mahoney also said that the committee needs to make a decision on whether or not to include a sally port. An asphalt driveway will lead up to the building, and upon removal of the sally port, request a cement pavement to put in its place with fencing. The committee also discussed moving the building 24 feet closer to the administrative center if the sally port is removed. It was moved by Crowe and seconded by Zumwalt to adopt conceptual site plan R2 for the animal control building with the addition of a sidewalk to run on the south side of the administrative center, eliminating the sally port, adding a cement pad and a chain link fence, and preserving the bur oak tree to the best of our ability. Motion carried by voice vote. ETS Director Eric Raymond spoke on the committee about security measures in the administrative building. Raymond said the Policy and Procedure Committee spoke briefly about the matter, but going forward, the committee, along with the ARPA Committee, will handle these items. Treasurer Kurt Albertson informed the committee of an incident that occurred in the Veterans Assistance Office that resulted in the police being called and someone being removed and banned from the building. Crowe questioned if cameras and other security measures are added, who will be responsible for monitoring the cameras? Albers answered he would be responsible for monitoring his own cameras. Albers explained he would like to bring himself to the amount of capacities through his office. Crowe suggested the discussion be tabled until revised ARP applications are submitted. Raymond provided information regarding the switchover of ETSB phones from the current TOTS telephone system, which is intertwined with the sheriff's office, to a VoIP system. Raymond said ETSB is willing to cover the charges for the phone services. Currently, phone charges are included in the ETSB rent via cost per square foot. Discussion will be held soon with the management committee, and it will need to decide if the county will absorb the new charges or if the ETSB will pay the cost. The discussion was tabled. Dr. Arnold of Workforce Development sent an email to the county board office requesting permission to park their mobile workforce center in the parking lot of the administrative center. In the email, Dr. Arnold stated that the truck is about 25 feet long and 11.5 feet high and will need to be parked during the months of March through October. The vehicle will be in storage November through February. It was moved by Duquette and seconded by Zumwalt to allow Workforce Development to park their mobile workforce center in the administrative center parking lot during the months of March through October. Motion carried by voice vote. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Zumwalt and seconded by Crowe to pay the claims subject to the county board approval. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. There was no old business. During the new business, Sheriff said he received a letter from the Iroquois County Historical Society, and he was also contacted by former Watseka Mayor Bob Harwood. In 1967, a lease was drawn up between Iroquois County and the Iroquois County Historical Society, specifying there would be a management committee which would consist of 3 county board members and 3 historical society members. Combined, these members would select 3 additional members. The function of this committee was to oversee the maintenance and upkeep of the old courthouse museum. To everyone's knowledge, this committee has not met. The Historical Society is suggesting the language be removed from the lease and the committee no longer be in existence. Sure said meeting with the state's attorney to make sure that the necessary changes for the lease for the county board, for the county board meeting. Mr. Martin thanked the committee for accepting his bids for the Iroquois County Board. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Zumwalt, second by Crowe, to adjourn at 2:26 p.m. Motion carried, which is all respectfully submitted, and I ask for its adoption.
The motion on the floor to approve the management committee report, is there a second? Mr. Bowers, are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Mr. Kokenauer.
I have a question on, under the Martin Development Construction bid, it says project to be fully complete within 102nd of calendar days. Is there a penalty if that's not met?
It's not nothing in the contract.
So if it's not met, then
If we go on to
definitely.
go put something, take it out.
I was informed this morning that there are additional costs now associated with the bid we accepted in the way of utilities and other things, which has bumped the cost to about $425,000. And I think in light of that this committee maybe should take another look at it. So I'm gonna move, and in light of Mr. Kokenauer's question, I'm gonna move to remove that paragraph to send it back to committee for further work. To look at those additional costs in depth.
Since there's a motion, it would just be sending the motion back. I mean, we don't necessarily have to move the paragraph back, just motion to accept the bid.
You'd have to cancel the contract, wouldn't you?
I don't know.
Because you have awarded the contract already.
I
So,
understand.
but now something new has come up, so you want to resend it back, but you're gonna have to cancel that.
No contract has been awarded yet.
We accepted a bid.
But it's not official until it's approved by this board.
Right. So is my motion acceptable then? I mean, to send it back to committee for further consideration? To remove it for separate consideration? Then I guess.
Need to identify which paragraphs you want removed.
I guess Chad's saying that it's a motion that she could just move to send it back and not remove it.
Yeah. Because we have to send that motion back to the committee. We have to reject it or, yeah.
So whatever we gotta do. to send it
Two
back.
options, we can reject the motion and then the committee still has it, or we can just send it back to committee for review.
Okay, why don't we keep it simple and
Yeah.
easy instead of complicating?
Exactly, I just send it back to committee.
So I guess we don't need to remove, just send it back to committee.
Item B is what you would be sending back to committee when we get to that point. Or you can do it now.
I'm being asked to include in the motion, and it's agreeable to have a special meeting to keep this project moving forward, so.
We'll set a date for that then.
Well, I guess that's okay, but again, final approval then still would be delayed till the August meeting of this board. Anything that is accomplished between now and that time can have as many meetings as you think
Well, it
necessary.
gives us additional time to, like today, we just got the information today, and now.
I
we're in this
understand what
position.
you're saying.
So extra time is good.
Okay.
So for now, why don't we just for now send it back to committee? The committee can handle when we're gonna have meetings and stuff. Does that sound good to you?
Well, we won't meet again until,
Well, but
so
if-
we need to determine today another date.
Well, we,
The committee can do that separately. They don't,
Yeah.
that doesn't need to be decided in this meeting.
so I can get together with the members and see when everybody's available after the meeting.
So, which motion?
So what part are we removing?
We're removing from bids were
She doesn't want to
No,
revoke
no.
it. She just
Just
wants to make a
send
motion
item
to
B.
send it back to
She's
the
just gonna send
committee.
it back.
She said she wanted to remove
And then she
and
said-
send back to committee is what she said.
And then
So that's why I'm asking what you want to do.
Now, do you want it removed or just the motion to send it back to?
If you want to do both, you can do it in one motion. You can remove and send back in one motion, like what you stated.
Let's
That's
just
perfectly
keep it simple.
acceptable.
Have a motion to send it back.
Okay, what part are we sending back?
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Joe.
I move to send the motion, item B, on our agenda under the management services. Motion's accept the bid from Martin Development. I move to send that back to the committee for further review.
I thought that's what I said.
Just remember that the agenda is not part of the minutes, so
So what,
it may be hard to find that in 10 years, if that makes sense. Because it's not part of the agenda.
Well, the motion is
Your motion is to remove item B
to send,
and send it back.
so what
not to
she would,
remove,
pref-
just to send.
so
I
what she
know,
would
but-
prefer is,
I'm just saying for
um,
future,
Yeah.
to be able to see what is being done in the minutes, it'll be easier if you say you're going to send the motion
Yeah,
back, not using the item B,
okay.
because that can get lost in translation 5-10 years down the road.
It's the motion to send back.
Okay, so that's all we're doing is the motion that's part of the
Saying
minutes.
that, so everyone knows
Okay, just
what we're talking about.
want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, so Mrs. Crow's motion is rescinded and your motion is what we're talking about.
And
So,
I'll second his motion then.
okay. We want to vote on Mrs. Crow, Chad's motion first.
Okay, everyone know what we're voting on?
Sending it back.
Are you ready for me to call the motion? Okay. Bowers,
Yes.
Kokenauer,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart, Awful,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zumwalt, Whitlow,
Yes.
Alt, Bard,
Yes.
Barron's,
Yes.
Botcher, Bowman.
Not up yet.
Motion carried.
Must have some.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second to approve the rest of the report, so now we'll have.
I just make one comment on that, where the Martin Development bid is, this, maybe it's just was written down funny, but the whole, if the utilities aren't located, we gotta know the risk of digging blind. I mean, that's like the biggest no-no on the face of the earth, to dig blind, so I trust everyone here knows that, but it,
The utility part of the plan is to locate all.
well, I assume it just, the way that's written there is very,
That's not a part of Mr. Martin's responsibility, though.
okay.
That's the reason it's not included. Right?
It's contractor responsibility.
I don't care who does it, but obviously digging blind is not in their best interest either, because they could kill someone. So I think it goes without saying, but it's just written very oddly there, so.
Chairman? Could I have, John would like to speak on behalf of it.
Yes, just to answer his question.
Yeah, sorry.
Or concern of why I said what I said. There's a lot of utilities that are underneath this building.
Sure.
Or maybe not. They don't know where they're at. I don't know where they're at. Julie won't come locate them like we normally would, so the county has to provide that information, but they don't have it. So we gotta hire Hills Sanitation, the Rings camera, to start it against the building to see where the pipe goes. Nobody knows where the stuff is. There's an electric line that goes through there, they don't know. I'm not sure where the sanitary sewer is for sure. So we don't know where those lightning rods that are in the ground, nobody knows where stuff is. So my point of that is unless you provide the information to keep me from digging blind, I'm gonna be digging blind.
I understand.
So, and I agree, you don't do that.
Right.
So, but the point was, in that comment, was to say, give me the information I need, so I don't have to dig blind.
Understood. Yep, thank you.
Is what that was trying to say.
Yep.
There's actually a benefit to the county in that respect, in that, yes, there's many utilities, lines and so forth over here and over by there that we don't know where they are. They were put in when these buildings were originally put in, and there was no GPS or any drawings or any records as to where these things are at. So it's vital that we know where they're at. So that's a secondary benefit, is that, that we're gonna find out where a lot of things are at. For example, there are water lines and sewer lines that go to that maintenance shed. So we don't know exactly where they're located.
Sure.
There's some other lines underneath there, like you pointed out, so.
Makes sense. Okay.
Okay. That leaves us wanting to vote on the report, correct?
Yep.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Kokenauer,
Voting on the report.
I was just gonna
oh,
comment, somebody made a comment that there was not a time limit, I mean, within 100 days, but on the contract, was there anything, if it went longer than 100 days? You know,
We'll discuss that back in committee because it's being sent back.
that's fine.
Okay. Everybody set? So,
ready? Okay, sorry. Kokenauer,
Yes.
Crow,
Yes.
Ducat, Hughes, McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart,
Yes.
Awful,
Yes.
Sure,
yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zumwalt, Whitlow, Alt, Bard,
Yes.
Barron's,
Yes.
Botcher. Did you say no?
Yes.
Oh, you said yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Bowman,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, on your agenda, number 2 under the Management Committee is a discussion and action regarding the lease to the Iroquois County Historical Society on the Old Courthouse Museum. I have with me here the letter that Mr. Harwood sent to our board stating what was written in the minutes a few minutes ago about what's in the lease between the county and the Historical Society. And I also have a copy of the lease, which goes back to September 10th of 1967, I believe it is. In any case, the Historical Society is recommending that statement or the part in the bylaws that there be a committee of 3 county board members, 3 society board members, and then those 6 are choosing 3 other members to form a committee to oversee maintenance and upkeep of the old courthouse. They want that removed because it hasn't been done. I couldn't tell you if it's ever been done. I know it hasn't been done during my tenure on this board. And Mr. Harwood is here with us this morning. I guess one of the questions that I have in this respect has to do with, the county owns the building. We don't have a budget for the maintenance and upkeep of the building. There has been a rather substantial amount of ARPA money that's been given to the Historical Society for maintenance and upkeep over there. Going forward, my question would be about if we were to remove this from the lease, where are we at as far as maintenance and upkeep of that building and whose responsibility is it and so forth?
Well, I read the lease, Mr. Short. It's the responsibility of the Historical Society for the maintenance and upkeep of the building. The county board is responsible for the insurance on the building, both boiler insurance and liability and property insurance, or property insurance, not liability. We have been paying the boiler insurance. We're not going to get into that argument. It's not worth arguing about at this point in time, as far as I'm concerned. And just so you know, I am treasurer of the Historical Society, and I am on the board of directors. Our big issue, it's not an issue. As we were going through our bylaws and our standing committees, we discovered that this management committee exists. Further review showed that it exists because of the lease that was drawn up in 1967, signed in 68. It's never met. The old heads that I've talked to at the Historical Society don't recall this committee had ever been met before. Mr. Shore has indicated the same thing. It's just a committee that's on paper that doesn't really need to exist at this point in time. Just so you know where we're at, right now, the Historical Society, through a series of grants, is upgrading all of the windows in the building. Every window in that building has been repaired, caulked, repainted, new storm windows put in place where storm windows never were before. We're doing everything we can to tighten the building up. We put new burners in the boiler in an effort to try to increase our ability to reduce our monthly utility bills in wintertime. There's been a lot of maintenance done on the building, tree removal, sealing repair, interior tuck pointing, deep cleaning of every room. So we accept the maintenance and upkeep of the building without question. And it is in the lease as such. We have no choice in that. That's our responsibility. If you want to keep the management committee, that's fine, and we would probably suggest that we need to get this committee up and running, and so you folks know what we're doing, and move forward from there. Or we can make reports to the county board if you would like. And if we ever get in a situation, it's our feeling that if we ever get in a situation where there is an issue, that would be the time that we could create an ad hoc committee between the county board and the Historical Society to work out whatever issue may be. But we don't anticipate or see any issues right now, but that's not to say they won't occur. I understand how that works also.
And I guess that's the concern that I'm bringing here is that, again, it's our building. We own the building, but having you to have the responsibility to maintain it, if that responsibility isn't met because of a lack of funds or whatever the reason would be, where does that leave us?
I would think that as our Historical Society board sits right now, I feel that they accept the responsibility of the maintenance on the building. We know it's our responsibility, and they take that responsibility quite seriously. I do not believe that the board would intentionally walk away from a maintenance issue that we were not able to cure or pay for ourselves without coming to the county board and saying, look, this is your building, here's where we're at, this is the problem, we're having trouble finding funds or funding to make these repairs, can you help us out? I don't see our board not doing that. I think they would come forward with that. But if the county board feels that we need to keep this management committee in place, that's fine too. We're just suggesting that if the committee that doesn't meet, do we need it? And I think we could do an ad hoc committee on down the road.
The point is, if we think there's a need to have oversight, then that committee should be meeting, and it hasn't been, so. We're either gonna have the committee and have it meet, or we're gonna do away with it.
Right. And that's basically where we're at. That's true.
Well, when there was an issue a few years back, I think it was with the roof and insurance, then the museum committee came and talked to the management committee. So if we do away with that, do we want to replace it with something like that they would do an annual report to either the management or finance committee? That way there would still be a communication.
And we would be happy to do that.
I think that might solve the question, but this is the reason I wanted to have this discussion and make sure that we're all in agreement on how we want to proceed, because I think it is an important thing that we, as long as we want to, as long as we have to have that building there, which I believe we have to, it's on the National Register, and can't just say throw it away or knock it down or whatever, so. It's a responsibility that the county has, and we need to be sure that we can address it, so. So I guess if there's not any further discussion, I'm open to any motions or suggestions that anybody would want to make regarding how we want to proceed here.
Well, I like Lyle's idea to at least get an annual report, so there continues to be some conversation between the two.
Okay, so do you want to make a motion to do away with this committee and the lease and replace it with them having an annual report?
Well, I don't know, I see some head shaking going on, so is there further discussion before I make a motion?
No? Mr. Ducat?
At this point, Mr. Harwood just said that we're having no issues. What says that 20 years down the road, when it's different people in office, different people at the Historical Society, and there are major issues, do we still have to say so?
Well, I mean, to that extent, some of the repairs that he's just mentioned are being done because of our ARPA money that we've given them, which there's no way of knowing when anything of that sort, any grants that might be available. Nobody can predict when grants become available or from where they come. But obviously, there's a need for money. That's one of the first places you look, is to find out, what grants might be available to cover things of that sort. So that's kind of a difficult thing to assess.
Up to this point in time, we have had great success in receiving grants.
Well, I'm not arguing that.
But I agree with what you're saying, sir, that 20 years down the road, we have no idea what's gonna happen. I understand that completely. If we do an annual report, hopefully, and here again, we're speculating, but hopefully that report would indicate somewhere along the line that if there is starting to be a failure in the system, that someone would pick it up and say, okay, we gotta put the brakes on this and do something different. We gotta reinstate a committee, we've gotta create a committee, whatever the case may be.
Do you think that was the reason why they did this back in 1967, was just in case something does start to go down, it can be formed?
I think that's part of it. The other part of it, I believe, was the fact that the Historical Society was brand new. And they were taking over a building owned by the county. And I think this was kind of just an oversight committee to make sure things were done properly. But because the committee hasn't met, as it should, on some type of regular basis, that's why we came forward with you folks to suggest, maybe we should do away with this committee and explore some other possibility. I like the idea of an annual report. I think it's a great idea. We could do more frequently than that if you so desired, as to what we're doing up there as far as maintenance and upkeep of the building and everything that's going on. We've got regular, we've got Angel Pest Control coming in, which they've never done before, things that just were overlooked before. And part of the reason why we were able to do this is because we've not had anyone on staff a payroll for 2 years. And I don't see us at this point in time getting excited about hiring someone to come in to sit and babysit the museum, if you will. Our executive board committee members spend a lot of time in there, and our president, Diane Gagnon, is there every Monday through Friday, 10 to 4. She's running the place basically for no salary. So that's allowed us a little extra funds to use in some of these other manners that should have been done a long time ago, and obviously.
If we agree that you would submit an annual report, you would have to establish a date when that would be due. So do you have any suggestions on that? When is your fiscal year end?
Our fiscal year is 1 January to 31 December, so.
I guess I would suggest doing it maybe in June, so that if there is an issue, it can be discussed in our budget hearings.
Okay.
How are we gonna, or how would you be appointing down the road when other members pass along, what things change for new appointees?
For the board?
Yeah.
We have a personnel committee that goes out and similar to what you folks do when you see Mr. Whitlow, that we contact people that we think might be interested, see if they are interested, and sit down and talk to them, make sure they understand what their duties are, what's expected of them, attend meetings, things of that nature. And that they have an interest in the society to keep it running and keep it going. It's getting very, very difficult to do.
What would be wrong with appointing members and finding 3 others and still working on this like they just asked in 1967 and not just doing quarterly reports?
There's nothing wrong with it.
I just think we should have a stake in this still. And I think they're doing a positive job there. I'm proud that we did the ARPA money to help them out, to keep the building going. I don't want to change something that did in 1967, just on the stake of, they had a reason for it. And moving forward, I think we should be taking care of that building altogether. Something very positive for the community. I mean, you've seen that picture on multiple pamphlets talking about how good the county is. And I'd like to keep that going.
And as a side note to that, we have had, just so far this year, we've had several visitors out of state stop at the museum and have commented that it's one of the better maintained museums they've ever been in. So, it's a positive note there that things are moving in the right direction, and we're doing everything we can to keep it moving in that direction, to make sure that it stays the building that it is and the museum that it is.
Are you wanting to make a motion then, Paul? We keep things according to the lease as it is now?
Great.
Got a question over there? So the lease says that we pay the insurance?
That's the way I understand it, yes.
Then if we're gonna go by the lease, we can pay the insurance.
We do.
You do.
We do.
Yeah, the only insurance that the Historical Society is paying the boiler insurance. But if I remember correctly, the lease says that's the responsibility of the county board, but I'm not here to argue that point today.
There's a copy of the lease here in case anybody would like to read it. Obviously, there's quite a few pages, so I didn't have copies made for everybody. But anybody wants to read the lease, they're available after. Okay, so Mr. Duquette has made a motion to continue on with the terms of the lease as presently stated. Is there a second to that motion?
She had her motion first, I believe.
I didn't make a motion. But did you want to add to that, Paul, that we get a quarterly or annual report? Did you want to add that?
That'd be nice. We can do that then.
Well,
But
I guess structurally, what we I mean, it says 3 of their board members, 3 of our board members, and then 3 others that are selected. Do we need the 3 others that are selected? Because that would be the hard thing to come up with.
It's up to those 6 to find the 3.
Well,
General public still has an opportunity to get in on that. I
Okay.
think that would be something that would, you get people coming in all the time and
And
you
it
get there's a
doesn't,
few
it
and they
doesn't-
show up and they want to put, an opportunity to move forward on something. This is something we could appoint somebody like that for.
doesn't say anything in the lease about those other 3 members that they could be county board members if so desired, or if they wanted to volunteer.
You want changed in the law?
That's the only thing that we're here to discuss today, Kevin, is just, this management committee and its existence, and if the county board feels it needs to remain in existence, then so be it, that's fine.
You just like some season movement on it, something.
Yeah, if we're gonna have a committee, let's have a committee. If it's just gonna exist on paper, there's no sense in it being here. So if we're gonna have a committee, let's have a committee.
I would think that as far as reports go, that committee could certainly report under outside organization reports. I think that it's not necessarily exactly an outside organization, but I think that would be a good place for them to submit their report periodically to the board. I don't know that you can include that in your motion if you want, but I don't know that it's necessary. Mr. Bowers.
20 years ago, I did the maintenance at the Courthouse Museum. Wayne Hiles was chairman, and they worked very hard to do that, to take care of that place. My wife volunteers there right now and spends a lot of time there. I believe that we're wasting our time sending people there to go to a meeting that nothing's going to be hashed out. I'm opposed to that. They haven't had it for all these years. Why start it now? I think it should be eliminated.
Mr. Crowe?
Well, I think in the past, there was a roof leak that was an insurance claim, and there may have been another claim, and at that time, and this is just to add to the discussion, they brought it to the management committee because it was an insurance matter. So there's that aspect too, that they can just bring a problem to the management committee if we removed it.
If I might add, it is our feeling that if there is a major issue, we have no problem coming to whatever county board committee we need to report to. If there is an issue that we feel is beyond our abilities or is something that the county board should take care of, we have no problem with that whatsoever, none. And if we get into a situation that is maybe a little more involved than just talking to a committee and getting an answer, we would not be opposed to having an ad hoc committee created for this specific problem or issue and let them meet and resolve it and then move forward from there.
Mr. Zumwalt.
I'm in favor of all the cats, well, all hours. That I think that we need to just meet, hear from the management committee once a year. I think this committee hasn't met in 55 years.
We don't know for sure when the last time they met. It could be less
20
than.
years ago, they didn't have one.
Yeah.
And it's such a-
I would
Okay.
be happy with just an annual report.
All right. Mr. Duquette has made a motion. I'm looking for a second to his motion.
You restate the motion.
Read that the motion again, please.
His motion was to keep the lease as it is on the old courthouse museum.
If you don't have a second to the motion, it will die for lack of a second.
I'll second.
Okay? Are there any other questions or comments regarding the motion to keep things as they stand in the lease?
By keeping them as is, we can still, we'll have the committee, it can still meet just once a year. And so that kind of does both. It keeps the committee active, and then we're only it'd be just, it may be nothing more than they report to us after a management committee meeting, we get together and, once a year.
And if necessary, meet more often, if necessary.
That committee can determine that, if it's necessary. If you have a committee, then you can always call a meeting.
Charlie?
I'd say they're not prohibited to come to the county with a report more than once a year if it's necessary. Helpful.
I understand what you're saying. We have a motion and a second. We're gonna vote on that. People are for it, can vote for it, against, we'll see where that goes. Okay? Unless there's any further questions or whatever, we'll call the roll, please.
Crow,
Yes.
Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart.
No.
Awful,
Yes.
Sure,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Zumwalt,
No.
Whitlow,
No.
Alt,
Yes.
Bard,
No.
Barron's,
Yes.
Botcher,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Bowers,
No.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The motion carries. We will have at least remaining as it is, and we will get some county board members appointed to that committee and go from there.
Paid on an annual basis.
Okay,
Sounds good. All right. Thank you very much for your time, folks.
thank you for coming. Now we'll move on to the health committee. This is awful.
Right, Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, the committee to whom was referred health, which I believe to submit the following report and matters before them. The committee met at the administrative center on July 5th, 2022 at 9:04 a.m. Members present were Barbara Austin, Roger Barty, John Scher, Kevin Kokenauer, Ernie Curtis, and Thomas. Also present were ICPHD Administrator D. Shepard. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Roger Bars and seconded by John Scher to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Scher and seconded by Bars to pay the claims, subject to county board approval. A roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. There were no public comments. Finance manager Jill Johnson provided a monthly animal control report for the committee to review. Bard noted that per the committee's request, animal control warden Linda Brevard performed a kennel check on the Waltz kennels. Ms. Waltz informed Brevard that she was on the list to have concrete poured to replace the pavers that are there. Ms. Waltz has 2 breedable females outside and a family female in the house. There were no puppies and none of the females were pregnant at that time. Scher said he was informed that the individual that was involved in the animal cruelty investigations has attempted to get more animals. Scher suggested Brevard make a visit to the location. ICPHD Administrator D. Shepard gave an update on COVID-19, reporting there were 249 cases in June. During the month of May, there were 159 reported cases, 49 cases in April, 76 cases in March, 439 cases in February, and 1,548 cases in January. Many individuals continue to test at home. Shepard said that there is a CDC calculator online that you are able to enter your illness dates, and the website will tell you how long you need to quarantine if you've tested positive. COVID-19 vaccination statistics are as follows. 39,984 doses have been administered. 7,212 booster doses have been administered. 51% had received 1 dose. 48.96% of Iroquois County is fully vaccinated. Ages 5 to 11, 11.82%. Ages 12 to 17, 31.58%. Ages 18 to 64, 53.91%. And 65 plus, 81.32%. Shepard reviewed the summary report of programs with the committee. Environmental health performed 10 inspections, issued 6 temporary permits, and collected 23 water samples, with 3 samples being unsatisfactory. There were 5 new well inspections, 4 permits for new wells, 2 permits for sealed wells, 1 sealed well inspection, 4 private sewage inspection, and 7 permits issued for private sewage. 40 mosquito samples were tested for West Nile and 200 samples. All tests have come back negative. There are 12 tobacco compliance inspections and 4 nuisance complaints. There were 4 radon kits handed out. Community Health administered 49 childhood immunizations, 7 adult immunizations, 71 COVID-19 vaccinations. There were 3 animal bites, 3 COVID-19 outbreaks were reported, 3 rabies cases were reported, but all tests were negative. Community outreach events consisted of 12 educational presentations, 1 health fair, and 2 press releases. 9 inmates were assessed at the jail. The community care program is currently serving 188 clients. ICPHD will have a booth at the Iroquois County Fair and will have radon kits, information, and screening for the new Alzheimer's grant. ICPHD is partnering with the Juvenile Justice Council and will have a hidden in plain sight room that is set up like a mock teenage bedroom. Shepherd said that there will be several places and things that teens can hide alcohol and drugs. The room will give parents insight on what to look for in their own kids' rooms. There was no old business, there was no new business. There was no further business before the committee. It was moved by Bard and seconded by Sure to adjourn at 9:33 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is effectively submitted, and I move for its adoption.
Motion on the floor to approve the Health Committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Kokenauer, are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Mr. Hughes?
Yes, this gentleman back there, I forgot his name, but he brought up that there need to be some more people appointed to the health committee. Were we gonna discuss that or what?
I will take care of making appointments to the Health Committee so that matter is taken care of. Okay, is there any other questions?
Word. Yes, in the COVID vaccination statistics, Mrs. Awful said 39,984 doses, it's 34,984.
That's just a minor mistake. Mr. McGinnis?
Referencing the public comment and Board of Health, what's any status? I mean, I have concerns, a lot of us in here have concerns about the Board of Health, and specifically mine's the accurate accounting of overtime. Is there, I'm concerned about the Board of Health's oversight, making sure we're doing everything right. To the point, I'm cautious on using the term neglect of duty, but there's something fishy in the state of Denmark and with how the overtime is recorded. Make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted so that everyone is protected. The environment, the culture, the health department, I think I'm speaking for a lot of board members. So that's the concern. I know some things you cannot answer, and I hope some members of the board understand there's some things that are still being watched by the state's attorney. What's your thinking, or what can you say about this?
There's very little that I can say about it, in part because it's an ongoing situation. I can tell you that this whole matter began, when it began, along with Mr. Behrens and the Health Department's HR person, we contacted the attorney for the Board of Health and met to discuss the issues. The attorney for the Board of Health read through all of the personnel policies that are applicable, and that attorney asked me to participate and asked one of the Board of Health members to participate in conducting an investigation. And that investigation has been completed, and there's been recommendations that have been made to the Board of Health. The Board of Health has adopted many of those recommendations, and I believe there will be some additional ones. But I'm really not at liberty to go into any more detail than that at this point in time, partly because of the possibility of ongoing litigation, and also because the state police are conducting some investigations. So it's something that my advice to all the county board members is that it's best, even though I understand the concern and the questions that people have, but I think it's best that we try to be patient and not discuss these matters, because as you well know, when there is a threat of ongoing litigation and other investigations, why it's best to let those processes work themselves through.
What are some of the recommendations that are already public? I know, because, for instance, I mean, on Facebook, there's a constituent that already posted a lot of concerns, allegations, whatever, tagged a gazillion people, and, you know, already asking us. So we do need to provide something, and I know the Board of Health met, and so what was the public portion of the approved recommendations?
Well, they approved several recommendations that were made, okay? I was at that meeting along with their attorney for the Board of Health. And
The attorney being Jim Devine?
yes.
Okay, just make.
And as I said, that was done in executive session. And after they came out of executive session, they made several motions to adopt some of the recommendations. So as I understand from the conversations that I had with the Board of Health president yesterday, many of those recommendations are already in the process of being implemented. I would leave it up to Mr. Devine if he wants to elaborate on the recommendations, partly because while the recommendations were made in the public meeting, they're part of the minutes of that board which have not been approved. And really it's, as you know, with our minutes here, they're not official until we approve them.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's that aspect of it that raises the possibility of not getting into detail.
I'm just asking for a review of that.
Rumors are rampant everywhere. You and I know about rumors.
Yes.
Most rumors have very little factual basis to them.
Yes. So what was the public discussion of the recommendations? I mean, yes,
I think they adopted 5 recommendations. I don't have that in front of me, but I think bring it here with me. But it was talked about in public after the executive session was concluded, so we can make that for you. I mean, that is in writing, or should be in writing somewhere, what those recommendations were.
Yeah, I think it's critical that everyone on this board knows what those recommendations are.
Why do you think that's critical?
I have concerns about neglect of duty by the Board of Health. For instance, the culture of the health department, the environment. I have concerns about the oversight of the Board of Health to ensure that the environment is a positive workplace versus a hostile. I have concerns about the documentation of overtime. I'm not saying overtime wasn't earned, but there's rumors about how stuff was documented. And so I believe as a board member, I do have the right to know that we are properly documenting that.
Why?
For the protection of the Board of Health, protection of the employees.
Those are Board of Health,
taxpayer
those are
money.
Board of Health matters, Chad, not
Yes.
county board matters.
But no, we pay the bill.
No,
We
no.
oversee the Board of
No,
Health.
we do not.
The
No,
Board
sir.
of Health works
No.
for us.
No.
You have the power to appoint the Board of Health with consent of the board. You also have the power to recommend removal for cause or neglect of duty with approval of the county board.
That's correct.
And I think we need to make sure that stuff is done right. So we do have that. We report to our constituents. And if there's a perception out there, true or not true, let's say it is true, that there has been improper management, it's our duty to have conversations with you about should there be removal, or maybe there shouldn't be. But, and the fact that ultimately, yes, the Board of Health reports to you as the chairman. They are separate, and that's a good thing to prevent political, in some counties maybe,
The
use.
Board of Health doesn't report to me.
They need to be, you appoint them.
Yes, I appoint them.
And-
They do not
and
report to me.
You have the power to remove them.
That's correct.
So-
They do not report to me. They do not, we have to.
Yes.
We have to have a clear
They do the
understanding
annual
of these.
They have to be accountable
They have to be accountable. They do the annual report.
to the taxpayers. They're not accountable to the voters. So we're the only people, you're the only person that could in theory hold them accountable.
Let me ask you this, Chad. Does the
Yes.
708 board report to me?
We publish annually the report, but no.
Every month I ask for outside organization reports
Yeah.
and you never get up to say anything.
When there's stuff to report, I will.
There should be something every month.
No, we don't meet monthly. We meet quarterly sometimes.
And then,
So,
But John, that's beside the point. Do you agree who are they accountable to? If they're not accountable to you or this board, who does the taxpayers that have to pay their property taxes for that agency to exist? Who do they report, who are they responsible to?
well,
I mean, that's a simple question that should have a very simple answer.
I think there's a responsibility to the county board chairman, yes.
Okay. And so there's a lot of questions.
But that doesn't, that reporting to the county board chairman doesn't translate into reporting to the county board.
As a historical note, a previous county board chairman removed an entire public health board.
That's correct.
So, again, we come to the question of accountability, and we heard here today in public comment that additional overtime was approved at last week's meeting. So, can you expound on the details of that, of how much, or how has, the question is, how has overtime accrued? Why has that not been submitted during pay periods that it was accrued in? Why has it built up? I can't understand that. That's just a simple question.
Well, I guess the answer to that right now is that that's a part of the investigation being conducted by the state police, and I don't think it's an area that we should be going into.
I guess we do have an investigation going on. I think the state's attorney is, being the lawyer for both entities, has a very good handle on it. While we do have oversight to some extent, we probably want to watch how, if you have questions, go to John, but be very careful what you say, otherwise you may become part of a lawsuit.
Mr. Whitlow.
Anytime there's an investigation and possible litigation, you have to be really careful. Everybody's got to be careful what they say.
That's exactly what I said a little while ago.
And I agree with you on that. It's really a tender area to.
I understand everybody's interest in the matter, believe me, I do, but it's just something.
You gotta be careful what you say until it actually is over with,
Right.
investigation.
I guess I'm just curious how she gets paid then if the state pays her. That's what it comes out of our pot here. Anybody explain that to me?
They have their own tax
There's
funds that they do not get.
Yeah, let's not get into
Yeah,
that.
right.
That's part of the investigation. Let's just.
Yeah, their monies do not come directly from us. They come from the taxes.
Then why are we on the 3rd and 17th, receiving $3,600?
We handle payroll for them as a service, but that is not.
So to get accountability from now on, do we just pull her out of payroll? And I have nothing
It's really confusing, isn't it, Paul? It's very confusing.
I think,
And then you're gonna go into retirement, Tim. Then if you boost your end, which they're close to retirement, you're gonna use the last 3 or 4 years, retirement's gonna be up here. So who pays that? Their board pays the retirement, or the taxpayers of Iroquois County.
116,000 of overtime is a lot of overtime in 2 years. I mean, that's.
I think one thing that when you start talking about pulling someone's pay, I believe that it's illegal to not pay somebody. If, so, I mean, you
know where I'm going with this, though. I'm not.
I know where, but if you.
I wish this never, whatever's going on never happened.
But if you don't pay somebody, then you're.
So what you're saying is because the Board of Health last week approved to keep paying her overtime, they have without a doubt an accurate spreadsheet, an accurate time card that says she earned X amount of overtime on these days, just like anyone else that punches the clock or you have to turn in hours. The Board of Health has, without a doubt, that she worked it for them to approve the payroll. Because that's not under investigation in a sense, because they did approve to pay her more, to continue it. So that's where I have a concern is I haven't seen anything. I would like to see something that says, here's the timesheet, here's the spreadsheet. Yeah, we just chose to not pay her all of it at once, which I would have a concern about if that was proper. But they do have a master pay sheet that says she's owed all this. Is that correct to say then? Because that's the questions I'm being asked is, because I know when I worked salary and I punched, I had to report once I exceeded 50 hours. If I did more, I had to turn it in. And there was a sheet on there, and the company I worked for made it comp time, but you could see exactly, and they could audit right now. So the Board of Health does have that. Is that correct? I mean, that should be public. That we just paid her. We just approved the payroll. And that's my concern about continuing to approve that payroll in light of I'm not talking her normal salary. I'm talking the overtime piece. I have a concern about continuing to say yes to that payroll document if there's strong concerns about the legitness of the supporting documents.
So basically, you're saying that any decisions made by the Board of Health have to have your approval.
I'm saying you as the county chairman should be
The Board of Health has to have accountability to the taxpayers at the end of the day. Like there's no world where that can't be the situation. Because otherwise, as a taxpayer, I'm not paying for it. Like, that's just how so we can't, this has to be abundantly clear, Jim. Like, who are they accountable to?
Well, I mean, they're like any board, right? They're the board of directors. They don't get involved in the day-to-day.
I understand.
Okay,
But that's fine.
You're asking that they need to get involved. Should they be aware of what John said? This is being investigated by the Illinois State Police.
Well, my question has nothing to do with that.
Let me finish my statement. This is an investigation by the Illinois State Police. I've met with them. I've spoken to them. I know what's going on. I know how we need to be careful with information that gets publicly disseminated, because I don't want to interfere with an ongoing criminal investigation. Period. So for us to talk about it, and you have the right to ask questions, I don't doubt that at all. But I think we don't have the obligation to provide you answers when there's an ongoing criminal investigation by the Illinois State Police. That's my caution. So if you're going to ask me a lot of questions about it, I'm not going to answer.
No. My question's very simple. Let's pretend this never happened.
Who do they report to?
If the head of the health department is accountable to the health department board of directors, who is the board of directors accountable to? Because they, as board of directors, just like we, are representatives of the taxpayers, the people who we are elected by the constituents to represent their financial and lawful interests, whatever you want to call it.
Mr. Chairman, I move for a call for the orders of the day.
No, Mr. McTaggart has a right to answer if they ask this question.
Okay. I mean, it's a very simple question. It has nothing to do with this incident
I call
particularly.
for the orders
No.
of the day.
The state's attorney said no.
No, you can't just cut off Mr. McTaggart. He has a right to make a statement, yes, and state his case.
Okay, may I try? And correct me if I'm wrong. Ultimately, that board is accountable to us and the chairman. But it is purposefully made very difficult in order to make it, to insulate them from political stuff.
Understood.
So ultimately, yes, they are accountable to us, but it's not something that can be done just boom. There would have to be certain steps, I'm sure, taken, but there is a separation so that it doesn't become political and people get removed and put in for political reasons. And that's where it needs to be, as in the last case when the whole board was removed, it was extreme circumstances. And this may end up being that. We don't know yet because there is an ongoing investigation.
Okay, thank you. One final point, if I may. I'm a CPA, that at the end of the day, a corporation, and I would assume the board no different than us, the board of directors for a corporation is responsible for the internal controls and being insured as signing off on that they have proper, the management team, while they're not involved in the day-to-day operations, management team is in charge of the day-to-day operations, but the board of directors needs to be sufficiently confident that there are proper internal controls in place. And I think that's worth noting that, yes, they're not responsible for checking the timesheets, so to speak, but they do need to know and be taking the steps to ensure that there are 1,000% sure that all internal control operations are in place to ensure that those things are being done properly, even though they're not doing them themselves.
And I think they're doing that. Mrs. Grove.
I would ask a general question, not specific to the discussion. Under what circumstances is a salaried employee able to collect overtime in any department in this county?
Well, I think your question gets to the heart of the investigation, and I can't answer that. And I don't think Mr. Devine will either.
Well, I asked it generally, I didn't.
I understand,
Situation.
Mrs. Grohl, but your question is also central to the investigation. I think we have to allow that process to continue.
Okay,
More than can take time.
then can we expect from you, Mr. Chairman, at the end of investigations that we would go into executive session more publicly, whichever is appropriate, and that you would fully apprise this board of the outcome of any investigation, criminal or civil?
But if I'm given reports on that matter and it's concluded, I think would be appropriate, yeah.
If you're not given the reports, I would question why you don't go looking for them and demanding them as the appointee, as the person who appoints.
How can I demand something when I don't know it's been done?
I think that's a management issue if you're appointing those people.
You're talking about I'm talking about the reports from the investigation that's being conducted.
So you would be talking about the states?
I don't know when that investigation is gonna be completed. I expect that we'll be receiving a report, but I can't demand a report on something when I don't know they've completed their
No, I'm talking when
investigation.
it's timely completed. I'm not talking today or tomorrow. I'm talking at the end of any criminal or civil investigation that you would fully apprise this board as appropriate.
When I find out that it's completed, I will do that.
All right, thank you.
So is it the recommendation that all the payroll claims that the Board of Health sends over, that includes the overtime, just be accepted? And then if let's say, any salary, I mean, if there is a retirement, how much do we owe her? How many hours of overtime did the Board of Health say that we still owe?
I don't know that I have that number exactly.
I mean, that should be a public, I mean, that's not part of the investigation. I'm just curious how much we owe, how many hours we still owe her.
Why is that important?
She works for us, and I would just like to
She
know.
doesn't work for us. She works for the Board of Health.
So what you're telling me is.
She works for the Board
number-
of Health, Chad. She doesn't work for us.
That's public information.
So that's public information. How many hours do we still owe her? If something was.
Why are we being so
to happen,
opposite of
if
this
something
shit?
was to happen to her, let's say anything, we would still owe that money. How much is still owed?
Talk to payroll.
Okay.
I'm just asking. I'd like to know how much we still owe her. Because if she's truly owed it, she needs to be paid it.
Meeting and find out.
Well, you represent us. How much do we still owe her?
I'm not taking the fifth.
So you're not gonna share
No,
public
not,
knowledge?
because we're still under
I think
investigation.
that information should be out there.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know that we sit here with that information.
Yeah.
But that's out there.
That's okay to be told how much we still owe
Or
her.
you can find out, you know,
Yeah.
you have a right to find out.
We didn't come, you know, I say
don't
we
wanna-
in general,
Yes,
but
I don't wanna ruin an investigation if that number should not be disclosed,
I believe
but I'm being asked it.
The board took a vote to pay her overtime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there should be there has to be substance to that, so, you know, I don't have that information.
Okay. I trust you on that. I just don't wanna, if it should not be shared, that's fine. But
No,
if
that
it's
should
public,
be public information, what she
Yeah.
paid. I mean, that came out in both those statutes.
Yeah.
So, there's a certain number that she was paid, I don't remember what it was, but, that should be out of this portion.
that's what I thought. Okay.
so where were we?
Trying to get the report of the Health
Right.
Committee done.
Were we through reading it?
Yeah, we have a motion and a second for health.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. We're trying to get
What are we voting on?
The health committee report.
Question.
Hey, I'm not leading this meeting.
Before you move.
Is everybody?
You had a question?
Okay.
He's got a question, yeah. Paul has a question.
When you were standing up here, you said you had the recommendations with you that was actually in the meeting. Could you read them to us, some of the recommendations?
He wants to know, I did say I had them with me,
Yeah, I think that's fine.
and I read them over on my phone.
I borrowed it from somebody.
What did she read?
The recommendations of the Board of Health.
And only the recommendations that came out, not the ones that are in it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, number one. Administrator and department heads will be required to complete approved training for personnel, conflict resolution, crucial conversations, and stress management. Like training will be made available to all health department employees. 2, the Board of Health is requiring that all employees work from the office during normal business hours unless their job description requires otherwise. 3, the administrator will set up a monthly calendar of expected out-of-office commitments to be shared with all staff. On her out-of-office days or not available by phone, the calendar will show the designee who is contact in administrator's absence. 4, to preserve public image, the Board of Health requests that all public health department employees refrain from video gaming or similar activities during working hours. And 5, the Board of Health recommends a mediary for daily activities between employees and the administrator as we work through these personal issues. And it's still ongoing. There's going to be other recommendations. So this is what we decided in a 4-hour meeting. So
Thank you.
it's very, we're really looking into it.
I hope however this turns out, we gotta turn a positive spin on it before we go.
I think I've made that statement. The purpose of all this is, what we've been doing is to try to maintain the integrity of that department. I believe that's exactly what's occurring. I have to say that in view of some experiences that this board has had several years ago, I think that it's much better if we proceed with caution on some of these matters. That's my take on it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm taking that approach. I think we need to be patient and let things in the process work themselves out. I'm very confident that Mr. Devine and I and Mrs. Awful have put together a very comprehensive investigation and a very comprehensive set of recommendations that are gonna produce the desired results. But we have these other matters that are ongoing that have to also play themselves out before we can get too far down the road. If that helps to allay everybody's concerns, I don't know that we can get it too deep into the specifics.
Ready to take the vote. I'm ready to take the vote.
Being that there are no further questions or comments, we'll have the clerk call the roll to approve the report of the Health Committee.
Ducat,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
McGinnis,
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful. Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt. Bard.
Yes. Yeah, I get it.
Barron's.
Yes.
Botcher.
Yes.
Bowman. Bowers.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crow. Motion carried.
Tax Planning and Zoning Committee, Mr. Bard.
Let's hope this one isn't as long as the last one. Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee to whom is referred tax zoning would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the Administrative Center on July 5, 2022 at 9:37 a.m. Members present were Bard, McGinnis, and Awful. Kokenauer and Curtis were absent. Also present, County Board Chairman Scher, Treasurer Albers, County Clerk Supervisor of Assessments Yergler, ICPHD Administrator Shepard, Stanley, and Lori Hendricks of Ridgeville. The meeting was called to order. It was moved by Awful and seconded by McGinnis to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. The committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by McGinnis and seconded by Awful to pay the claims subject to county board approval. Roll call vote was taken, motion carried. There were no public comments. Department heads gave their monthly reports. Treasurer Albers reported the office is in the process of the first tax distribution. County Clerk Suber reported the turnout of the primary election was a little over 26%, which is to be expected. There was a last-minute polling place change in Douglas 1. Due to road construction in Gilman, the original location was affected. The Gilman United Methodist Church agreed to have the polling place located there. Also, the Logan polling place reported not having a roof on the Monday before the election. Repairs were made prior to the election. Suber said the election equipment still works well, but the heat and humidity played a factor as far as some ballots not feeding into the machine correctly. The election vendor told Suber there were issues all over the state with the heat and humidity. Suber thanked Treasurer Albers and Supervisor of Assessments Yergler for distributing the voting equipment. Suber also thanked the FFA students from Cissna Park for the assistance on the evening of the election. Tuesday, July 5th begins the filing period for independent and new party candidates for the general election. Lastly, Suber has a certified list of candidates for election judges for the committee to review. Suber will also email the list. Supervisor of Assessment Bob Yergler reported that with the first installment of taxes over, his office is back to the day-to-day workload. Yergler said he received a resignation from his employee, Jody Billings, effective June 30th. The job was posted, but he didn't receive much response from the posting. Last month, Yergler discussed possibility of opting out of the low-income housing resolution for preferential assessment. Yergler said he cannot move forward with submitting a solution to opt out unless the committee has reviewed it and sends a recommendation to the full board. The Planning and Zoning Committee for June was distributed to the committee as follows. Building permits, June 2022, agriculture, 0, residential, 9, wind tower, 0. Building permits, fiscal year 2022, residential, 36, agriculture, 9, wind tower, 0. Building inspections, June 2022, 2. Zoning Board of Appeals, June 30th, 2022 for Jacqueline Lasley to rezone from A1 to UR-1. The tract is identified as section 17, Western Township, 28 North, range 13 West. The permanent identification number is 11-17-477-001. It was moved by McGinnis and seconded by Awful to approve the rezoning request for Jacqueline Lasley from A1 to UR-1. The roll call vote was taken, motion carried. Discussion was held on an ordinance for mini warehouses. Yergler questioned why the committee would want to develop a separate ordinance when it could be added to an accessory use. No public hearings would be required to make this change, and all the setbacks remain the same. It was moved by McGinnis and seconded by Awful to add mini warehouses as an accessory use to the zoning ordinance under B-1, Business District. The roll call was taken, motion carried. Suber presented a monthly resolution list showing one parcel being sold by the county trustee. The parcel is located in the village of Beaverville and was initially presented to the committee several months ago. At that time, the committee tabled the sale because there was a question on whether or not the parcel had been sold by the former county trustee, and if the gentleman that put a down payment on the parcel was still interested in buying it. The trustee's attorney reached out to the village of Beaverville, and the gentleman thought he had purchased the parcel in order to come up with an agreement. The parcel is being presented to be sold to the village of Beaverville at the base fee of $300. It was moved by Awful and seconded by McGinnis to approve the resolution authorizing the sale of property located in the village of Beaverville. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. There was no old business, there was no new business. As there was no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by McGinnis and seconded by Awful to adjourn at 9:59 a.m. Motion carried by voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its approval.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the tax planning and zoning committee report. Is there a second?
So moved.
Mrs. Awful seconds. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report?
I have a correction.
Okay.
I just want to say the base fee of that parcel being sold was $797, not $300. $300 is what's going to the county to disperse.
Make that correction.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments regarding the report? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Hughes. McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful. Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt. Bard.
Yes.
Barron's.
Yes.
Botcher.
Yes.
Bowman.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Pro.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, everybody has in front of them in their packet a certified list of the candidate judges for the upcoming election. It's number 2 is here on your agenda, so we need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Kokenauer, seconded by Mr. Hughes. Are there any questions or comments regarding the certified list of candidates for election judges?
I just want to make a note, it's a 2-year term that you're appointing these people for.
I have a question. Can county board members serve as election judges?
Yes, as long as you are not on the ballot, you can serve as an election judge. Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart. Oh. Awful.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Barron's.
Yes.
Botcher. Bowman. Bowers.
Yes.
Kokenauer.
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
Ducat. Was that a yes? Hughes.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, Judicial and Public Safety Committee, Mr. Barron.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred judicial and public safety with Doug Lee Smith following report from Irish Recorder. Your committee met at the courthouse on July 6, 2022, at 3:05 p.m. Members present were Barron, Sir Jasmine Gill. Also present, county board chairman John Church, Sheriff Hunter D. Relations Supervisor Brian King, guest director Terry Francis. The meeting was called to order as moved by Dupont, second by McGinnis, to approve the agenda, motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. Sheriff Frazee presented his monthly report to the committee as follows. Telecourt telehealth project scheduled to complete. Courthouse is scheduled for August due to damage or received and sent back. We should be starting telehealth with Pierpont Memorial Doctors, mental health, and addiction recovery in July. So the court provided a price for yearly cleaning of all cell blocks at $3,600. Work with Cheyenne Lawyer as Champaign County Regional Planning Commissioner, providing counseling inmates on life skills and job skills. Books can be purchased through the commissary account. Body scanner bids to be opened on Thursday at the Finance Committee. Mandated training with Kankakee Community College to assist with training at their facility. Some in-house training can happen once approved by NTU and ILETS. Online training through NIC and ILETS. CPR, AED, Narcan, PPI, EpiPen, first aid, tourniquet, training provided by ICPHD. 54 arrest intakes in June, 44 male and female. June jail population 21, 16 male, 5 female, 1 ankle bracelet. June medical, 6 hospital emergency room front air visits this month. 4 mental health visits to the jail, 0 lab visits by Airport Memorial Hospital, 2 nurse practitioner visits every other Thursday, 10 public health intake exams every Thursday, 0 telephone assessments with Airport Memorial Hospital nurse practitioner or MAR, 1 dental visit, 2 orthopedic visits at Gibson Orthopedic, 2 recovery concepts Urbana Methadone, 3 telehealth with nurse practitioner, 1 rheumatologist with Bradley, Illinois. Jail overtime for June, 297 hours, 141 paid. Part-time hours for June 60. Probation supervisor Barb King reviewed the probation and services activity report for June 60. Yes, director Eric Grant distributed the monthly report to the committee. And informed the committee he had a resignation as of June 20th, 2019, and is currently accepting applications from telecommunicators. There was no old business, there was no new business. The committee reviewed the claims. It's moved by Dupas, offer to pay vehicle public safety claims. Approval, notification, taken, motion paid. If there is no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by McGinnis, second by Dupas, to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted and moved for introduction.
Motion on the floor to approve the judicial committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Boxer seconds. Are there any questions or comments regarding the judicial committee report? Being none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful. Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Alt.
Yes.
Bard.
Yes.
Ferens.
Yes.
Botcher. Bowman.
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
Kokenauer. Kokenauer.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Crow. Donna.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
And McGinnis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, finance committee report, Mr. McTaggart.
Mr. Chairman and members of the county board, your committee to whom was referred finance IT would beg leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Your committee met at the administrative center on July 7th, 2022 at 9:03 a.m. Members present were McTaggart, Young, Alt, Bowers, and Hughes. Curtis and Johnson were absent. Also present, County Board Chairman John Scher, Sheriff Clint Brzee, County Clerk Brian Suber, Treasurer Kurt Albers, County Engineer Joel Moore, ETS Director Eric Raymond, EMA Director Eric Sacy, Myron Munyon with Compass Insurance, and Susie Warner with Homestar Insurance. Meeting was called to order. It was moved by Hughes and seconded by Alt to approve the agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. There were no public comments. Myron Munyon with Compass Insurance reported the cybersecurity policy is up for renewal. The questionnaire was sent to the finance office for completion. Susie Werner with Homestar Insurance reported the current loss ratio is at 105%. Werner said the ideal loss ratio percentage is 80%. The highest month for the county was at 189%, so we are trending downward. Renewals should be out within the next few months and to budget. She recommended we budget for an 8 to 10% increase, but she'll be working with Blue Cross Blue Shield to get us the lowest rate possible. Department heads gave their monthly reports. They are as follow. County Clerk Brian Suver reported there were no issues on election night with the website postings and results were posted immediately. Suver is working on the fiscal year 23 budget. Suver said she hadn't heard anything from the state board regarding grants. The turnout of the primary election was 26.1%. ETS Director Eric Raymond reported that he had an employee resign effective June 20th. He has received 42 applicants and will begin the interview process. Raymond provided a grant update. Raymond said that the state has removed the GIS flyover. The other application submitted was for the next generation 911 phone system, and that appears to be moving forward. EMA Director Eric Sacy reported he was looking forward to the Iroquois County Fair to be able to educate the public on public safety and emergency preparedness. There have been some repairs done to the EMA vehicle which will exhaust most of the fiscal year 22 maintenance budget. The air conditioning is also out of service, but it's not a priority at this time and will be included in the fiscal year 23 budget request. Finance IT Chairman McTaggart reported for Finance Manager Jill Johnson that she spoke with Hope Wheeler at Clifton Morrison Allen about the audit, and they're still working through the single audit. We do not need any further information from the county. An extension has been filed for our accounting and financial report.
Budget hearings are scheduled for July 26th and 27th. Budget worksheets and schedules were sent out on June 30th and are due back to the Finance Office on July 15th. ARPA quarterly report requests were sent via email and certified mail to those who were awarded over $50,000. Sheriff Clint Brzee reported Iroquois Memorial Hospital has been able to provide breakfast for $2.49 per meal. Iroquois Memorial Hospital said that they could decrease the lunch cost by 25 cents if we substitute a bag of chips for each meal. They also stated hot meals are more cost effective because they are being made in bulk. The average price of meals has been $4.41 per meal, which is comparable to Aramark, the previous vendor, and the quality has been a lot better. Brzee reported he is still looking into the radio upgrade. Since April 13, there have been almost 50 instances where officers have not been able to reach ICOM. Lastly, a correctional officer is currently out on disability for close to a month. All paperwork has been sent to IMRF. Brzee said this is creating a strain on the scheduling and is costing quite a bit in overtime. Over the past couple months, there have been several part-time correctional officers hired, and they have been able to help cover shifts. Brzee would like to transfer one of the part-time correctional officers to full-time due to the correctional officers being on short-term disability and their salary not coming out of the budget. Treasurer Kurt Albers reported the first tax distribution was completed this week. There is a question on a department's levy amount that will be looked into next week. The body x-ray scanner bids were opened. 2 bids were received as follows. Tech 84, $135,900. Recurring annual costs include $7,500 for an optional warranty up to 5 years. Adani Systems, $136,000. Recurring annual costs include $12,000 for an optional warranty, $14,500 for an optional maintenance plan for 5 years. While reviewing both bids, it was noted that Adani Systems bid included the automatic narcotics detection software. It was moved by McTaggart and seconded by Holt to accept the Adani Systems full body x-ray scanner bid in the amount of $136,000 and elect not to purchase the extended warranty. A roll call vote was taken, the motion carried. Committee reviewed the claims. It was moved by Bowers and seconded by Hughes to pay the claims subject to the county board approval. A roll call vote was taken, motion carried. During old business, Joe Young said he spoke with the company regarding backup internet service in the event the county loses connection again. One of the representatives will get into contact with our representative at Area Wide about a backup circuit to reroute traffic if and when the internet service goes down. Also during old business, McTaggart discussed billing for 911 ETSB. A suggestion was made to bill entities based on the tax base. County Board Chairman John Schur said this approach was looked into and discarded with a few other options. Eric Raymond added that the method of using EAV was one option, but some of our areas are a little higher due to wind farms, and this would increase their costs. Another option discussed for billing was to use calls for service. Raymond said this option was discussed again in the most recent ETSB meeting. Letters have already been sent to the entities informing them that the billing method would be the same as previous years, and a comment made at the ETSB meeting was if changes are going to be made, conversations will need to be made sooner because the entities have a May 1st budget start date. There was no new business, as there was no further business to come before the committee. It was moved by Holt and seconded by Bowers to adjourn at 9:41 a.m. Motion carried by a voice vote, all of which is respectfully submitted, and I move for its adoption.
Motion on the floor to approve the report from the Finance Committee. Is there a second? Mr. Young. Are there any questions or comments regarding the report? Mr. Ducat.
The body x-ray scanner, did we get a? Yes, sir. Did we get that exactly through the ARPA?
Yes, yes, it is.
And is it, you're good to go? Okay.
Should be covered, yep.
Mrs. Crowe?
The state has removed the GIS flyover. What does that mean, removed? Does that mean it's not happening or what?
The GIS flyover, this was something we were doing in combination with the zoning and planning office with Bobby Ritter. Since there was grant funding available for it, excuse me. The plan was to utilize grant funding in order to accomplish that for his office and also benefit them.
Right, I do follow that.
Other individuals that were also applying, one individual applied for it across the entire state. So the state is in the processes of accomplishing that separately. So our portion that we were requesting separately in the grant was being removed because the state's gonna do it. The challenge for Bob and his office is they were not narrow enough to handle what he was going to be wanting to do. So he's going to have to find another option for the zoning and planning office. That's a lot, so.
One individual requested the entire state, not one individual from Iroquois County, one individual within the state.
Within the state. So there was multiple flyover requests on the grant, within the grant funding. So they elected to use that one option to cover the mass rather than to have multiple different ones.
So we're not getting the grant monies, but.
Bob's getting the short.
Okay, second question is, what department has a question about the levy amount?
I believe that's the health department.
And we approve our levy in December,
It was November of last year.
November?
I normally give out worksheets as I work with Bob on, giving those prepared for the committee, job to discuss those and approve those. And those usually go out in October for discussion and review. But like Brandon said, it was approved.
So,
If there's no other questions or comments, you can call the roll, please.
Awful? Oh, sorry.
no problem.
Gotta get your hands up.
Going right to Clint. For the annual cost, including 12,000 for the optional warranty, 14,500 for the optional maintenance plan, what did we go with? Did you go with those or did you do the five? Okay.
Due to the low amount of scans that would be completed.
Right.
These machines are designed to do 500 plus a day, and we would be doing maybe 500 a year. So, the same company has a system up in Kankakee, so when she's in that area to do anything for them, we can have her stop.
Great.
Even if we have to pay hourly, it would be cheaper than doing maintenance.
Thank you.
Those five for $3,000 a year on the maintenance contract. Based on his feedback, it didn't sound like we probably have that many problems we're hoping.
Seeing no other questions or comments, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Awful?
Yes.
Sure?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Zumwalt?
Yes.
Whitlow?
Yes.
Alt?
Yes.
Bard?
Yes.
Barron's?
Yes.
Botcher?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Bowers?
Yes.
Kokenauer?
Yes.
Crow?
Yes.
Ducat?
Yes.
Hughes? Guinness?
Yes.
Taggart?
Yes.
Transportation and Highway Committee, Mr. Alt.
Mr. Chairman, members of the county board, your committee was referred transportation and highway with big leave to submit the following report on the matters before them. Committee met at Iroquois County Highway Building on Friday, 9:03 a.m. Members present were all Young, Selmo, and Crowe. Ducat was absent, also present County Engineer Joel Moore, County Board Member John Sure. Meeting was called to order. There was no public comments. It was moved by Crowe and seconded by Young. Approved agenda. Motion carried by a voice vote. The claims and financial report for the month were reviewed. It was moved by John Stumble and seconded by Young to pay the bills subject to county board approval. The roll call vote was taken. Motion carried. County Highway, $159,986. County Bridge, $2,215. County Matching, $16,865. TBT0. County MFT, $110,507. Township MFT, $1,797. Excuse me, $1,797,182. County Engineer Bill Moore reported on line items that are currently over budget, such as gas and oil. He informed the committee we do all our business, at least our tanks from Heritage FSA. The board is interested in purchasing our own tank of 2,500 gallons of fuel. Moore had received
quotes at approximately $12,000. Business more competitive with the current salary of his employees and some recommendations for the new budget year. The AFSCIA negotiations will begin in November during the whole business. Better begin before November. County Bridge, that came in at 50% over the engineer's estimate. Moore said the bid was rejected and they will hold on to the project until November. Some will ask about status of a bridge east of Darrell. Moore said it is in the design state. As there is no further business to come before the committee, it was moved by Crowe and seconded by Summerall to adjourn at 9:36 a.m. Motion carries by a voice vote. All which is expected to submit and ask for adoption of this report. Motion on the floor to approve the Transportation Highway Committee report. Is there a second? Mr. Bard. I would make one comment or correction. ASME negotiations are gonna need to begin well before November because at the end of November, the contract expires. Are there any other questions or comments on the report? Being none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Sure.
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt. Whitlow. Alt. Bard. Barron's.
Yes.
Botcher. Lynn.
Yes.
Bowers. Okenauer.
Yes.
Crow.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yep.
Hughes. McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
And Awful.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving along, we have appointments. Do we have a motion to approve the appointments? Mr. Young, is there a second? Mr. Bard? Are there any questions or comments on the appointments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion passes. The claims, do we have a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
Yeah, Mrs. Awful, seconded by McTaggart. Are there any questions or comments on the claims? Seeing none, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Young.
Yes.
Zumwalt. Whitlow. Alt. Bard.
Yes.
Barron's.
Yes.
Botcher.
Yes.
Bowman. Bowers.
Yes.
Okenauer. Crow.
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
McGinnis.
Yes.
McTaggart.
Yes.
Awful.
Yes.
And Sure.
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, is there any old business to come before the committee this morning, or the board rather, excuse me? Is there any new business to come before the board? Mr. Ducat?
Yeah, I'd like to, try to make a motion to get rid of ARPA for the August 1st. There's actually 2 of the 5 that can't make it, and let's put it on August 5th.
You don't need to make a motion to do
I
that.
just want to make sure.
You can change the date of the committee as long as the
Yeah, all I'm
committee has
asking.
approved that, that's fine.
Is that okay with you? August 5th?
Won't be here, but that's all right.
August 5th?
Plus,
August 5th.
What is it?
August 5th.
What day of the week is it?
It's right for transportation.
Friday.
Friday.
plus it's on the calendar twice. Once for the 5th and once for the 1st, so don't be confused, it's August 5th.
Okay. Everybody can make a note of that.
The budget hearings are on the 26th and 27th, so
Right.
everybody is welcome.
We hope they'll feel welcome after the meeting.
Our pillows provided.
Is there any other new business? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? Mrs. Crowe, is there a second? Mr. Bowers? All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
I need this.
You ever gotten a note or not wanting to